I'm so lucky to be dating him right when he practically like got shipped here, right off the boats because he would be snatched so quickly.
Not off the boats, off of the boat.
The boat,
The
yeah,
boat.
yeah. And so I was realizing really what was in front of me. And I knew it was something special because listening to you with even our friends, everyone really revered what you had to say, and you had beautiful things to consider and contemplate, and you had information about the faith that I didn't even know existed.
Hmm.
And it wasn't just me who noticed, it was all of our friends who wanted to listen to your wisdom. And I had never seen anything like that. And I felt so honored to be someone in your life that you were considering to marry, and that I met you so quickly once you moved here because this is a hot item.
It was actually beautiful going back to just the idea that Jessica and I have been incredibly compatible since day one. I really think God has shaped our hearts for each other. But we went to a restaurant, Rula Bula, and that was one of the first times that we met. And Jessica had been healing from some candida issues, and she'd been healing a thyroid issue. And so her diet was ridiculously strict. I mean, ridiculously strict. I'm a clean eater, but that was a next level kind of diet. And I've always been into health and fitness and natural health specifically. My parents are both chiropractors. So we went to Rula Bula, this Irish pub, and I was sitting there. I do a lot of intermittent fasting because that's one of the ways that I stay lean. It makes my brain feel clear. I just feel good when I'm doing it. So I do a lot of intermittent fasting. So we went to this restaurant, and it's what, 115 degrees in the middle of the summer in August in downtown Phoenix. And I ordered a hot coffee, and the AC wasn't working in this place. So I probably looked like an absolute animal. I looked like something from another planet, probably drinking this hot coffee in an un-AC'd room when it's 120 degrees outside. I put some ice cubes in it, so that helped a little bit. But I was doing that because I was intermittent fasting. And I saw that Jessica wasn't eating all the pub food and all that junk too. And that's one of the things I noticed is that the self-control in a woman, the temperance in a woman is a very, very incredibly attractive feature for a couple of reasons. One is it's just kind of off-putting to see a woman who can maybe eat more than you or something like that. But secondly, and this is much more practical, much deeper, is if a woman is taking care of her body now, then that's an indication that she'll do so in the future. And I wanted to get married, and I had the long game in mind in some ways, is I want to be able to see my grandkids grow up. I want to be able to play with my little baby grandkids when I'm 80 years old. I want to be able to get down on the floor and play with them. And that's something that has to start now. It doesn't happen by accident. If you're just following what other people are doing, eating what other people are eating, drinking what other people are drinking, smoking what other people are smoking, you're just going to end up debilitated by the time that you are 70. And so that was something I had in mind. And seeing Jessica and seeing her temperance and seeing her ability to control herself and her ability to say no to delicious foods that are going to end up being harmful in the long run was incredibly attractive to me because I was looking for somebody not just to share the next 40 years with, but the next 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever God decides to bless us with. So temperance was another major virtue in you that I saw, and that ties right into your docility, I think, and your just willingness and excitedness to be led. But was there anything you noticed? I know we talked about apple cider vinegar shots, one of our first dates.
Yeah, I found out you take apple cider vinegar shots too. And I was like, I do too.
That's great. Yeah, let's move into now a little bit, I think, of our early marriage and just kind of some of the struggles that we've encountered and how we've dealt with that. One piece of advice that I've given to other young couples that have been engaged or just getting married is there's a necessary cross. There's necessarily crosses in your marriage. That's just the way it is since the fall. You're going to have crosses. And one of the things that I'm incredibly thankful for me and Jess, is our crosses have almost exclusively, if not exclusively, come from outside of our marriage. Our difficulties, our struggles, it's never been me versus you. I'm her cross and she's my cross. It's not been like that for us. And I'm so thankful for that because it's just 100% God's grace. But God has given us our trials from outside of our marriage so that we could grow together, so that we could compassionate one another, be with one another. And our crosses have actually made our relationship stronger, I think. And so that's one of the major things is if you are having struggles with your fiance, with your wife, and they're coming from outside of the marriage, be thankful because you have to have crosses. There's no other way around it. You have to have crosses. So be thankful when those crosses are something that you and your wife or your husband can work on together and overcome. And it's us versus the problem, not me versus you. Because the sanctification can happen if you have a husband who's kind of a jerk or a wife who's just not doing everything she should, right? And you can have this conflict and you can be her cross and she can be your cross. But if you're suffering and that suffering comes from outside your marriage and you have a chance to work with your wife instead of against your wife, be thankful for that to some extent, right? You should love your crosses to some extent because it's an opportunity for you to grow in virtue with your spouse. But do you have anything to add about early marriage years, dating years, late dating years, engaged years? Well, engaged 11 months, but
Yeah. Any marriage advice I would say is just remember that two people can't drive a car at the same time,
mm,
and they don't, the two people don't want to crash the car. So let one person, the man, drive and the woman be okay being the passenger. And I think everything will work much better within that order. I think a lot of people get hung up on wanting to be right or letting things get to them where the communication breaks down and then someone's hurt
hmm
and you have a bigger issue. I think trying to resolve things kind of humorously helps too. You're at least good with that. Of just being light. The other person essentially doesn't want to hurt the other because you're both in this car.
yeah,
So consider when something happens that they really didn't mean to hurt you.
yeah. Yeah, life's too short to be sad and too long to be sad. If you have 60 years coming up with the person you're married and you guys don't smile often, it's going to be a long 60 years.